Welcome to the November 3rd meeting of the Fall River Sewer Commission. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Having said all that, Mr. Ferlin, will you do the roll call, please?
Member Howiak?
Here.
Member Sousa?
Here.
Member Alves?
Here.
President Elvita?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've all been given a packet. I can see it's voluminous as usual. The amount of work that goes into these things is unbelievable.
Yep.
Okay. First item on the agenda is citizen input. Is there any citizen input?
Nobody
None?
signed up.
Okay, that takes care of that. Minutes of the previous meeting.
Sorry that they were not presented a lot earlier, but they were sent out earlier today. And there is a copy within your packet.
Okay. Why don't we consider doing this? I haven't had the opportunity to read it. I don't think the other commissioners had at this point in time. So, why don't we table it until the next meeting? That way we'll have the opportunity to deal with it and so forth, okay?
That is-
So, I'd like to make someone make a motion that we table the minutes of May 31st to a future meeting.
Motion made.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. By the way, thank you for getting it ready for today's meeting. All right, that takes us to the next item on the agenda, which is a stormwater appeal. And I understand we have Mr. Jude Morrow here from 369 Yellow Hill Road, who is appealing his stormwater fee. Am I correct?
Correct.
Sir? I believe you've been given some correspondence from Mr. Ferlin, basically telling, in his opinion, that you should be paying the fee, but you're here to appeal it, to come in front of us, the commission, to either to try and convince us that you shouldn't pay it. I've read some of your comments with respect to it. You're saying that because there are no catch basins in the area of your residence, no maintenance is done due to no catch basins. Is that basically your premise as to why you shouldn't pay?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. I went by a property yesterday. I'm pretty familiar with that area because we've had other individuals on that street come in and appeal their stormwater fees and so forth. Perhaps you know who they are. But I want to say we did deny those appeals on the premise that the infiltration and flow off you have a big piece of property, if my memory serves me correctly.
Correct.
You go way back. Am I
that's
correct?
nice.
Correct.
And if my memory serves me correctly, as you're going back towards back of it, there's a slight pitch that ends up heading into wooded areas there and so forth. Now, just one point I want to clarify is the flow of infiltration that we think happens with his property ultimately ends up going to where? Is it the Copacut?
Go to the code.
Okay, Copacut Pond.
Yes.
right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, because I was a little bit confused based on a response that was made to Mr. Morrow that it was possibly going to the southward top-up, but I think
Yeah.
that was just, that was an oversight, am I correct?
Yeah, that was the staff using the incorrect form letter to
Okay, all right.
people on the
All
south.
right,
Top.
I can understand what you were trying to say at this point in time, but I think for clarification, for my benefit anyways, that, it's, I mean, we're all in agreement, this is all flowing to the Copacut.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look up, yeah.
Stormwater from number 369 flows directly into Miller Brook, which flows through the forest, west to east, crossing Copacut Road through a culvert and into the Copacut Reservoir. Mr. Morrow, we've had a number of people come here, and it's for the same reasons. They're appealing stormwater thing. And a lot of them feel as though that just because there's no catch basins in the area, just because there's no means of collecting the water away from your property, maybe even on a street and so forth and so on, that's the criteria to say that they shouldn't have to pay. Well, that was okay probably back in 2008 when we first established the ordinance. But the ordinance was revised back in 2010, where it included infiltration and flow to any body of water which in its existence is managed by the city of Fall River, either through control of dams, gates, or whatever the case may be, or culverts, anything of that nature. So, in my mind, and having seen these maps and these infiltration flows that we have, that we know exist and actually function that way, that we have to assume, not assume, but we know that at some point in time, something that leaves your property, well, could, under certain conditions, arrive at the Copacut. And we control the Copacut. We service the Copacut. We service everything that's in those woods to get the water to the Copacut. Now, Mr. Furlan can probably give us an example of some of the things we've done in the past and what people consider a shed area or the wooded area, but we do have equipment that does go in there to prevent backup. So it doesn't affect, not only affect your property, but affect where it's going. I have to say that for my own edification, that your property falls under the condition that would require you to have to pay the stormwater fee, much like the people that were across the street from you that we denied their appeal on and so forth. So I'm not speaking for all the other commissions here. They can say what they want, but having taken a look at the way things are up there and knowing what we know to be true in terms of what takes place to get to the Copacut, personally, I'm probably going to ask the commission to give me a motion to deny it. Now, having said all that, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I've been living there for pretty much since 2010, prior.
And you have a beautiful piece of property, I must say.
Oh, thank you.
You got a very nice place there.
Thank you.
I can understand why you feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not upset with the whole issue with stormwater fees. I have another tenant house in the city that has a stormwater fees that come out of it. I understand that. The one thing that, I've been there since 2010. I've only received a bill the last 2.5 years. And I put myself on the spot, however you wanna take it, but, I mean, basically the whole stormwater fee that was told was to clean catch basins, to maintain, to everything. And when I was told, this was 2.5 years ago when I first got the notification as far as paying the $47 a month, quarter or whatever. When I was told, that was the first thing that I was told was the water goes to the Copa Cup. I can't understand one property in the city of Fall River that would be exempt, because you can, just graphics or anything else that no matter what, it's gonna go to the lowest point. That's just, the whole situation.
Exactly.
The one thing that is the service. Now, I know you mentioned about how, there's been vehicles going in and out to clean and all that. In all the years I've been there, I have not seen one vehicle or anything cleaning any kind of underground structure to let the flow go. Because there's one right down the street from me, that thing hasn't been touched since I've been there. And when I talk to neighbors, they've said the same thing. And it's been years since any kind of, in that area, it's almost a forgotten section of Fall River. There is no service. I could tell you all the way down from, from the simple thing of plowing the street one time in a snowstorm to the hole. And when I just filled up a pothole the other day. I want to lose a tire in it. You know that area?
I might have gone over it.
If
On
you
my
went
way up
yesterday,
there.
I probably fixed it for you.
Doing a claim.
But yeah, I should put a claim for that one. But that's the biggest thing with me is I don't mind paying for something that, but cleaning things, for the whole water system and stuff. But it's a general thing for me to say everyone's paying to clean catch basin into the city. I don't even put in. I have well water. I have septic. Now, I know when I call to get my septic pump, I don't put into the city of Fall River. So it's almost like, for me, it's like when I get a voucher, I call for the voucher, and I call these companies and say, hey, I got a voucher from the city of Fall River. They pretty much laugh at me and say, we really can take $10 off. When the bill is $360 for every 2 years that I do it, that's pretty much the whole stormwater fee. And that's how I look at it, like, okay, I'm not putting the stormwater fee, or now I have to. But if I'm paying $360 every time I get a pump, and I'm not putting into a system, or I'm not taking water from the city, or there's no maintenance, it's like, if I'm gonna pay the $45, it's almost like, and I joked with the girl, Jody, I'm not sure what her title is, but I said, okay, can I have water and sewer ran to my house? And you can't. It's impossible to run water and sewer out there. But it's like, do I get water and sewer, or, okay, I don't. But the stormwater fee, and I get it, it was exempt, I had Mr. Sullivan.
Yeah,
He was
2008, when the
Yep.
program went into effect. At that particular time, you probably would consider it exempt.
Yep.
But with the revision that was made to it in 2010 encompassed additional things. And this is when this type of condition ended up going into effect. Now, yeah, up till about what you said 2 years ago.
But 2 years ago.
2 years ago, you've been receiving the bill.
I even received it's kind of funny because I've been talking to Jody about it, and for whatever reasons, I haven't got any correspondence whatsoever. The only thing I get is a bill. The bill always makes it to my house, but no, 2 years, I've talked to Jody, I've even marked it on papers when I talked to her, filled out forms, and I've gotten no correspondence on anything. So I've been waiting for, obviously, these meetings to deal with the situation ahead of time rather than 2 years. And the biggest thing to me is, like I said, I understand there's stormwater fee for the whole city. In general, if you do most 99.9% of the city is gonna fall under that. But it's like anything else to me, there's ways of exemptions. The only 3 exemptions were Mohawk Drive, Yellow Hill Road, and Indian Town Road. Just for the simple reason, until you said in 2010, they redid the charters or whatever.
We did the ordinance,
the ordinance.
correct.
But it's almost like all of us in that area don't even put into the water and sewer. So it's kind of, and that's a debate in itself, but it's almost like, you know, I'm just getting a voucher for sewer, and I'm getting laughed at saying, yeah, we can take $10 off, when I'm paying more money than I'm paying quarterly for the thing. So it's almost like, that's kind of how the neighborhood feels, in a sense, like, okay, well, we pay for our septic, we have well that we have to take care of, maybe there's an exemption that we don't even, there's no service for us out there. There's no water, there's no sewer. I mean, I can go on and on all the departments that we've made, you know, I wouldn't want to say complaints, but brought to attention, and never gets done. The only time it gets done, unfortunately, is when things go wrong and bills start coming in. And that's the only thing that my biggest concern. And if it doesn't get voted for exemption or anything, then all I would ask is obviously the city gets 14% interest on, you know, not paying bills. I don't know if it's this department, but to be waived, just for the simple reason, I've been contacted for 2 years to get a meeting, and, you know, obviously with COVID and everything, things have been pushed out.
Right.
Where if it does get voted where it doesn't get exempt, well, at least the, you know, interest could be taken off. I don't have a problem paying it if it's voted, but I mean, to also pay the interest on something I've been trying to deal with the situation would be.
Would he be required to pay interest on whatever you think
Yeah,
is
so
in
if
arrears?
there's any arrears bills, there would be interest payment due. I would have to check to see whether that could be waived by mass law. I'm not sure whether we can waive interest on a overdue bill.
Have you been told you have to pay interest?
Yeah, I got the bills here, and it's kind of funny because even I got the bill for my place, I have another tenant house in the city.
Yeah.
That comes out of, you know, I pay that separately, you know, to the city of Fall River. And I just got a bill recently for that property of over $600. $600, and I'm like, I've been having it for 7 years, I've been paying it every year. Now I got a random bill for $600 saying I owe $600 for my other property. I mean, I got my receipts and stuff, but it's just like, nothing has ever been said. I've always paid it. Now all of a sudden, not only do I have the outstanding $47 for the last 2 years plus interest, now I got a bill of $600 for my other property.
Well, you've been being billed for the last 2 years,
Correct.
and if he's being billed after the last, for 2 years, at which point in that time would he start paying interest?
So once the bill's due past 30 days, then interest starts accruing on the individual bills. So if he hasn't paid any of those bills over the 2 years, every quarter a bill comes out, it's due within 30 days. Actually, I think we give a couple of days, a 10-day leeway period until interest starts to accrue after the due date of the bill. So we would have a number of bills that started accruing interest at different times.
Okay,
I just want to
go ahead.
ask though, I thought that once they appeal though, that would stay the interest during the appeal period, and he appealed in January of 2021. So at least from that point on,
Okay.
they shouldn't have any. But
That's,
if you want to just double check with the,
if the board inclines to include that in their motion, I will definitely check to see if there's any way for
at
it
least
to
to
be
go
waived.
back that far.
yeah, and I was about to kind of mention the same thing. And when you look at the fact that this appeal started in January of 2021, we were, I think at that point, definitely in COVID.
Yeah.
And, you know, nothing would have been done, nothing would have been dealt with at that point in time. He wouldn't have been able to come in here, we wouldn't have been probably
Yep.
been able to deal with it in that sense. So, I think that in itself would be, you know, good enough reason where the state, if the state is going to be the one that has the final say on this thing, I think we could,
Yeah.
we could make it look like at least we could waive his interest charges. Okay?
Yep.
All right, so,
I have a question.
go ahead.
is this $118 a total with the interest and what have you, or is it?
The interest that, I think the most recent bill that I received,
He's looking
the
at.
most recent one was in September. No, that was,
Yeah.
2021. The latest one I received was the June one. And the June one was $222.
Okay, so when you started receiving these bills,
Yes.
you never paid any of them?
No, because once I received the bill, I called.
No, I get you.
No, I never paid.
All right, you never made, you started receiving your bills, from that point forward, you never gave the city any money.
Correct.
And as a result of that, you've been charged, as Mr. Ferland said, anything after 30 days, you're gonna be charged interest. Okay. I think the board, and I'm gonna ask the board, there are options on this thing here, but I think under the conditions in which this timing took place in terms of when it was around COVID and everything else, things kind of came to a halt. And here you are today, trying to justify what you feel. I still feel strongly, though, that we're gonna have, I'm gonna deny your appeal for the reasons so stated. And those reasons are also outlined in the ordinance. But I'm also gonna ask the commission to make a motion to waive any interest rate, any interest charges on your bill. And how long will it take for you to find out?
Within the week, I'll have that
Okay.
total over to Mr.
Okay,
Morrow.
so-
So it would be interest charges and demand fees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right. First of all, would anybody want to make a motion to,
Question?
go ahead.
Question, on that first $47 bill,
Correct.
did you appeal it then?
Did I send in a form at that point?
Yeah,
No, I did not send in a form.
okay, when did you start to appeal it?
The first appeal, I'm gonna have to say, was officially documented on January 21. The whole time I've been contacting back and forth, and I've never, and I mean, like I said, I don't know
But
what Jody,
basically, you didn't appeal it to anyone?
I've asked Jody. Jody, I guess she's a secretary, I'm not sure. Jody works here.
She's a bill
Or-
clerk.
Clerk, okay. So I mentioned to her, she's actually put notes, and she's got a file of all my stuff too,
Okay.
that has all the contact and times I've been.
Would you say, how far before January 1st was this all taking place? Would it be a
Maybe
year?
6 months.
6 months? Oh, okay.
Maybe 6, no, I mean, it wasn't long.
All right,
as
okay.
far as
So,
that, yeah.
so what I'm hearing is you got it, you started investigating, what have I got to do so I don't have to pay it, and so forth and so on. And I would have to say, you're now into the year 20 where COVID was really rampant. And I think things probably got shifted a little bit. And at some point in time, someone said to you, you gotta put in a written appeal, which you did in January 1st of 21, where this whole thing now started taking its own travel section to where you are today. I get it. But outside of that, unless anybody has any questions, any problems with waiving the interest charges and what you call demand charges,
Demand fees.
demand piece.
Fees. Yep.
I would entertain a motion to waive the charges to Mr. Jude Morrow with respect to what he's being charged presently for the stormwater fee.
I make a motion that we delete the surcharges for the entire time that this is taking place and bring the current price minus the charges up to date, and that'll be your payment. You have to catch up.
Oh, I'm not
But
worried.
after that, you'll be right in the realm of it, $47 or whatever.
Quarter.
A quarter, yeah. You gotta realize that we have people all along South Pond, South Watauga Pond, and out in Tiverton that pay, I should say, it's in Tiverton, but the water, the property butts the South Watauga and the Saudi Pond out off 177, and they pay the same fee. So, we'll go along with this for you, and you're all set. You'll be just like everybody else.
Is there any way to consider in the future as far as people with septics and wells?
That
Wait.
I can't answer that.
I mean, is that something?
I would
I mean-
say, Mr. Morrow, being a resident of Fall River, if your property was on stilts over the shore of the Taunton River, then you would have a good chance of possibly being exempt. Only for the simple fact that there's nothing, it's already flowed to the river, if you understand. But that's just an exaggerated
No, I
example,
understand.
okay? But other than that,
I do have a thought on, you mentioned the voucher. Can you
Correct.
explain that?
There's a voucher, like, I'm not sure exactly how, it's a voucher that because we do not put into, I have a septic, so I don't put nothing. There is not even water service. I mean, if there's a fire at my
The city
house, I
gives
might as
you
well
a
just throw
voucher?
everything in there.
Yeah, so,
he gets a voucher from Paul.
right, so we used to have a voucher program, we don't have that anymore. We used to issue vouchers to any Fall River residents that they could give to their septic hauler. The septic hauler then gets a reduced rate of dumping the septic down at the treatment plant. So an out-of-town resident, septic hauler pumps from an out-of-town person, they pay $66 per 1,000 gallons. If it's an in Fall River resident that they're pumping out their septic tank, it's $44 per 1,000 gallons. So the septic hauler receives a $22 discount per 1,000 gallon for any Fall River resident. So we used to issue vouchers to the Fall River residents. Now we do it electronically with the septic haulers. They need to provide us a sheet of all of the properties that they've hauled from. That's all put into our system electronically, and that's how we monitor it now. So you don't have to call for the voucher anymore. You just let your septic hauler know that they dump, that you're a Fall River resident, and they'll provide you the reduced rate. Again, they get a $22 per 1,000 gallons. Typical septic tank is about 2,500 gallons or so. So, septic hauler gets that discount when they come down to our plant. What they pass on to their customer, again, is something that we can't regulate, but that they have.
But I think that's something you, as the person who's gonna pay the septic hauler, should be well aware of in terms of being able to negotiate
Right.
with them. So,
Yeah.
knowing that he's getting a break from
Correct.
us.
See, I didn't know
Big-
because the voucher, it must be a new thing recently as far as the voucher, or is that?
Within the past 2 years, we've gone
Okay,
away from the
always.
vouchers and we've
Gotcha.
gone to an electronic system.
Because I did get it 2 years ago, and that's probably
Yeah,
the change.
yeah,
with
change
COVID
up.
and stuff.
Well, there's something to keep in mind now for any future case where you're gonna have it empty,
But,
you know?
yeah, again, and there are some septic haulers that do not offer a discount to their customers, even though they're
Right.
getting the reduced rates. And there are some, that's feedback that I've gotten from some customers. So, best bet is to call around to get
So,
the best price.
so the hauler doesn't have to divulge, he divulges where he picks up. See, like our house,
Yep.
the house across the street, no sewerage. So he charges it what he wants, but he gets a breakdown there.
So in other words, it's pretty much, that's what my thing is, like, even if it's a break with a voucher or something, because It's kind of like, I mean, I know where my tenant house, what I have to give out for sewer and what I get for water. And obviously, the rates are high, and obviously depending on the usage, and I get it. But there's not like an incentive for the neighborhood to say, hey, you're not put into the system, because obviously the more people that put into the system, it overloads it. And in that area, there's no one that overloads anything. So that's why I'm just saying, I mean, if the stormwater fee's gotta, at least if there's some kind of consideration in the future or something, saying, hey, maybe we can change the voucher thing, instead of giving it to the vendor, we can write, I don't know, I'm just using an example, I don't know how it works with the city, but hey, we can give the voucher to the homeowner. As long as they can prove, hey, they got their septic pumped, we can give a credit or something. Because I mean, $360, I mean, I'm gonna save $40, not even enough to bring my family out to McDonald's anymore. So it's just like something, just something, I don't care if I have to pay fees, it's just, if something can be done, because obviously it's just $360 every 2 years, I mean, that's pretty much a stormwater fee. So now I'm paying extra on top of services that I'm not really getting into the city. You know, I'm okay with paying, I don't have no problem with paying if that's the way it is, but I just would, you know, like some kind of, either something we can work out to be compensated for not putting into a system, because I mean, obviously we all know how terrible it can get in a city. I mean, something gets backed up or water. So, I mean, I don't care if I have to pay, I just wanna know if there's something in the future we can work together and say, hey, you have to pay, but if we can give you a voucher, rather, because, like, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. But,
Paul Furlong.
like, the vendors, we all know what businesses do. They get the credit, the homeowners, they get nothing. Like I said, I got a $10 discount 2 years ago. Now, if he said that it was $22 per gallon, 1,000 gallons, well, okay, maybe I saved $50, $60, okay. Well, if they can save $50 or $60 every time to put fuel in their tanks, they're gonna do it, and I'm never gonna see it. I don't know what that voucher really says. So I'm just saying, if there's something in the future that could be discussed, it just something to help people, because like I said, where I live, I mean, I'm paying taxes just because of the size of my land, my house. I've had, you know what I'm saying, and I get it, you gotta pay your taxes, but every department I've been to and appealed for on different things and just asked just for consideration. Because I mean, you pay taxes in a city for a tenant house with a little yard, and then you go to 3 acres, there's a big difference. There's a lot of difference in that. That's why when people pay it, that's why it's like, even if it's something, even if it's a voucher, which I'm grateful for, but just like you said, if it goes to a vendor, it's not helping the homeowner.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, Paul,
Yes.
how would we know if an individual like Mr. Morrow is benefiting by the $22? In other words, the only way I can see it is if they call up and say, hey, I paid this, I thought, you know, it doesn't sound like I got anything. Is there any
Is there any,
way to
so is there
start
any way
collecting
for
that?
us to guarantee that the vendor is passing on that
Yeah.
discount onto the person that's having their system pumped? You know, right now there is, it's tough because, you know, I don't see any way unless we try to regulate what septic hall is charged, which I don't know if we would have the ability to regulate, you know, something in free commerce like that. You know, that's not a regulated utility or a regulated, you know, something that I don't think the city could possibly regulate.
I know, but we basically set it up, I believe, to benefit,
The residents of the
residents,
city of Fall River, yes.
right?
Yep.
Now, you know, it all lies in the hands of the hauler, because, you know, he's got a structure as to what he wants to get paid for his services and so forth and so on. Now, if we make it mandatory so that a resident feels as though he's benefiting from it, then I think the hauler has to provide to the customer something that shows that he's getting the benefit. Maybe, case in point, if he's going to charge Mr. Morrow, let's say hypothetically, $500, right? In that $500, he's got to show him that there's a benefit. He's showing there is a benefit of $22 per thousand, whatever. Now, some other hauler might charge $400, but regardless, the tenant, or in this particular case, the owner of the property, has to have some means to show that he did get some benefit,
Yeah,
right? Now, how the mechanism to do that, I think we have to think about and talk to legal, because I think there's definitely some ramifications to it.
Yeah,
But what Mr. Morrow is saying here is, you know, he's no one's showing him how he's making anything.
yeah, no, without a doubt, and you know, again, you know, a hauler could, you know, pump septic from Mr.
Absolutely.
Burrows
He
in
could
Fall
bump it
River,
up.
and he could be dumping it in Plymouth or dumping it in Middleborough too, which wouldn't offer Fall River residents a discount. So, you know, they don't have to, because they're pumping it in Fall River, they don't have to dump it down at our plant. So that's one issue potentially could run into. But seeing that all of the haulers are permitted to dump at our plant through the sewer commission, and the sewer commission has the right to revoke their permissions to dump at our plant, there could be something, we could see what can be done. So I don't know whether that would be something under the rules and regulations of septic haulers, a modification to those rules and regulations, but it's definitely something we can look into.
Okay. Why don't we do that?
Question.
Okay. So unless any one of you commissioners have a problem with waiving the service charges,
No, that's been a motion.
make a motion to
I made a
waive.
motion.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
Second. You okay with this, Scott?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call?
Nope, if,
Okay. You can do this verbal?
yep.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none? Motion passes. Okay, with respect to your appeal, okay? I've heard your argument. I think the commissioner heard your argument. And based on history of having listened to the same problem from other people and knowing what the ordinance encompasses, myself, I'm gonna ask the members of the commission to make a motion to deny. Now, that's gonna be up to them as to whether they wanna do it. So I'm asking for a motion to deny the appeal from Mr. Jude Morrow with respect to payment of his stormwater fee. Anybody want to make that motion?
Motion to deny.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Scott, you okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so be it. All right, thank you.
All set?
All set.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys listening.
All right.
I know you guys probably get people come in and all
Believe me,
outrageous and
believe me,
whatnot.
there's going to be many more.
Yeah.
Just one note, Mr. Morrow, if you did get a high bill on your multifamily in the
Yep.
city, abnormally high, I would contact Tom Ty, he's right behind you.
Okay.
Contact him tomorrow or whenever you get time. Maybe there's a leak in the property or something like that, we can either send somebody out to look at it.
Well, I don't think there's a leak. It's just I received the bill for the
Oh, okay, if it's
stormwater
not
for
abnormally.
the last whatever 6 years, and I've been paying it.
All right,
You know,
no,
that's-
I
I can prove.
you
know,
made it
show
sound like it might have
since-
been abnormally high, I just wanna make sure that you would jump on a leak or something quicker rather than later.
Yeah, they're
if there
doing
was an issue.
work over there anyways.
Okay,
Waterworks, so.
You don't have,
All
you don't have any interest rates on the other property with respect to your sewer bill, do you?
Yeah, I got a bill for $600, but it's the stormwater fee for $600, but it's been paid for, I mean.
Okay, all right, but there was no interest charges added onto those?
I don't,
No,
I mean, I got the latest bill.
that property's always had a stormwater fee though, right? The other property?
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
that's
and you've
been since
always, from what I
purchased,
understand,
yeah.
you always paid it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm assuming that there was no interest charges with
No,
respect to
no.
that. Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
Well, thank you for your time.
All right, no
Thank you. Have a
problem.
good night.
Right,
Have a good
good
night.
evening.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us to item number 4, the CDM Incorporated Agreement for CSO Treatment Facilities Optimization and Water Receiving Studies. And from what I gather, from reading through what was presented, the cost of that would be absorbed, approximately, probably about 90% of it would be absorbed by a grant in the amount of $1,163,000, leaving us with a little less than $200,000 to pay for what we need to do.
Yeah, the grant would be a 25% match that we have to do. So the whole entire MVP grant for $1.1 million includes this contract, as well as one that we will have with City Works and Groundworks, as well as UMass Dartmouth for some sampling within the river. So this is a portion of it, and then we require a 25% match from our funds.
My first question on it is, what's driving us to do it?
So this is all.
Excuse me,
Yep.
is this all part of the administrative consent order?
Yes, it is.
That came about last January, last December of '21?
Yes.
That came out and so forth, and so, which we all have a copy of here and so forth. Okay, so, I guess on that basis, there we gotta do it.
Yeah, this is something that EPA was looking for. We're gonna really take a look at our current CSO facilities, the one at Cove Street and President Ave, make sure that those are functioning as they should, make sure the coliform is being, all the bacteria is being disinfected in the water that we're discharging, making sure that the dechlorination prior to it being discharged, everything's working properly, as well as study the river. So the river and the bay has a lot of impacts. There's a lot of impacts upstream, other wastewater treatment facilities, other stormwater runoff facilities that come down into the river, private septic systems along the river that run off into the river. So it's gonna kind of try to figure out what we may impact the river and how other impacts to the river might affect sampling that we do.
The only the thing that comes to mind when I see something like this, I've been on this board for a long time, like Renee has, and Richard, and I gotta know that there has been surveys done that tell us what's coming from Attleboro all the way down and what effect it's had and everything else. And I bet you we got a library sitting in some storage room that's dedicated to this department that will show you this survey done, this survey done, and this survey done. And I'm not knocking the need for it in terms of the benefit we hope to get by it, but it just seems like we just keep adding to it. Now, having said all that, we're under a consent order. The regulatory agencies need to know, and we're making it a point where they exert their authority and say, we gotta do it. So having said that and getting that off my chest, this is this has a timetable, from what I understand, where it has to be completed by 2024.
Correct.
And that the money from the grant is gonna be broken out within, in the year 23 and 24,
Correct.
which are in June.
Yep.
Correct. What's this, part of what I read through on it is, I guess CDM or the city is gonna utilize an outside consulting company to provide, means for educating the public as to what we're gonna get out of it, and, you know, how it's gonna benefit them and everything. I'll call what, groundwater,
Groundworks.
groundworks.
Yep.
You ever deal with them, Terry? Paul? Go ahead, Terry.
So we haven't, the city hasn't dealt with Groundworks in the past. Years ago, Groundworks came around. They were a national organization, but there's a local chapter that was set up to work in Fall River, New Bedford. Years ago, I believe they approached Fall River, and it didn't really take off in Fall River, but they've been doing a lot of work in New Bedford over the past years. They do anything from maintaining of retention areas to constructing different types of green infrastructure, to different type of environmental projects, reducing heat islands and things like that. So they're a really good resource, again, that city hasn't tapped into, but they came to us about 6 months ago and were looking to move into Fall River. They've got a really good foothold in New Bedford. They've been doing some good things. I've taught a couple of their projects that they've worked on up there, and it seems like it's been a good partnership between the city and this organization. They're a nonprofit, and they work with youth from the community. So essentially, they'll have their project leaders that work for Groundworks, but the people that actually do the work are students after school or anything like that. They'll hire local high school students to be able to actually physically do the work, develop all the public outreach material, go around, knock on door to door, build the presentations and stuff like that. So they're working within the community, using the youth that are here, providing them a job and paying them to do it. So it's actually going to be, I think it's going to be a really good partnership. I'm using them on this program as well as a couple other programs that we're doing.
Okay. One other thing that comes to mind, with respect to what we're anticipating CDM to do, it's going to be quite from what I can see, it's going to be sort of pretty encompassing with respect to, as it says here, CSO treatment facilities, which I would think includes the plant as well. Now, we're spending a lot of money right now down at the wastewater treatment plant. We just finished phase 1 for $45 million, whatever, right? And we're in phase 2 for 55, another 55, I believe it is.
Yeah, 23 and 55.
All right, okay. Would what CDM is gonna hopefully provide for us, will it include the state-of-the-art means on disposal of sludge? Because right now, all our sludge is going out, I call it sludge, it's liquid sludge, it's all going out, 100%, out the door is liquid. It's costing us millions of dollars a year to get rid of it. And we're spending a lot of money down there with the anticipation of when it's all said and done, we're gonna have something where hopefully, that cost of almost $3 million a year that we're spending to throw out, liquid, we're gonna have something that's gonna be a lot smarter and a lot less cost effective. would you anticipate CDM being involved in that upgrade?
So the contract 2 upgrade that we're currently under is a lot of monitoring. So that all the belt filter presses right now under contract 2, those have all been removed. There's gonna be new gravity belt thickeners put into those rooms. Where the old dumpster garage was, there'll be belt filter presses above that dump down into trailers, so that we can ship out cake rather than liquid sludge. And then all of the gravity thickeners in the back, the 4 gravity thickeners that we have are being fully rehabilitated, and then they'll be used now as modern gravity thickeners. 2 of them is modern gravity thickeners, 2 of them is sludge mixing chambers. But yeah, so that'll greatly improve. Even through this contract that we currently have ongoing, we have a temporary rotating drum thickener that's down at the plant right now that's been operating for about 3 weeks now, which is online. And so our sludge thickness went from about 1.5%. We're sending about 5 or 6% out now. So it's a lot thicker sludge, a lot less trucking involved. So-
All right, but CDM right now is the driving force for the design and everything down there now.
Yeah,
I guess what I would hope to see in this report that they're gonna do is mentioning of the upgrades that we're anticipating to have in place to make things a lot better,
yeah,
okay? Because if we're asking them to do an optimization of what appears to be our treatment facilities, which also includes President Avenue and Cove for reasons of chlorine and all that other stuff, that I would hope that they would have reference to what we're also shooting to do down at the treatment
Yeah.
plant. That's the point I'm on,
Okay.
because, I mean, granted, we're getting the survey almost done for nothing.
yeah,
But, I like to see it to be pretty informative in that sense,
definitely.
okay? Anybody have anything they want to say about this? So,
Very good.
Scott, you understand what we're trying to do here? And as you get more involved, you'll see that there's a lot more of these happening, a lot. Okay, so having said all that, unless anybody has any further questions, or had any problems and want to do a survey of this nature for almost nothing,
I was just gonna ask real quick, I was curious, how did we end up getting a grant award? Did it entail a lot of work?
Yeah, so our staff, we put together the application with the grant writer out of the mayor's office. CDM assisted with putting together some of the technical information for it. But this is, I think, so we actually got awarded 2 grants through the MVP, the Community Utilities, 2 grants through the MVP program this year. We've had 3 prior awards from them. It's a program that we've been using a lot, and they've been great partners, so.
Great, yeah, kudos to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, $1.1 million grant, pretty.
good job,
Yeah.
good job. Okay, anybody has any comments about it?
No?
I'll entertain a motion to award contract in the amount of $1,351,332 to CDM for performing a CSO treatment facility optimization and water receiving study. Anybody want to make that motion?
Motion made.
Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? No. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Item number 5 is updates on ongoing projects. For the most part, this is just an update, am I right? But I think you're looking for $40,000 to, which is under the 50,000. You don't really need
Don't need a
the
vote.
commission's approval on it in terms of allocation of spending the money because it's under 50 grand.
Yeah, correct.
But go ahead, Paul, why don't you just give us a blow-by-blow?
Yep, so just the first thing that's on here is the $40,000 regulatory support contract that was signed with CDM Smith. This is to assist us with our ongoing ACO through EPA, and also the consent order, the federal court order from the lawsuit from CLF. There's always different types of reporting requirements and everything like that. So this is a contract for us to be able to use CDM for any type of support that we need to prepare reports for, to stay compliant with either the federal court order or the consent order.
Is this gonna be really helpful for taking the burden off of yourself and Mrs. Carrera over there and that young lady over there for having to put
Yeah,
all these little reports that get sent out to the world and everything?
without a doubt,
Yeah, I
yeah.
hope it does,
You know,
because,
Coming up this December, we have a pretty decent report coming the end of the calendar year that's gonna have to be due to show, how much we've reduced CSO discharges in the past year and stuff like that. So CDM's gonna be valuable with helping us
Good.
to do that.
good, because, all right, go ahead.
So the next thing within your packet is just a project update, Woodward and Curran on the Mothersbrook sewer design. So this was a project that was approved by the board, and the project's moving along. It just goes through gives you a brief update of where the project is.
I read through I read through the consent order. Believe it or not, I must have had I must have had an easy
Yeah, I
day
did.
that day. I said, I think I'll read this thing.
TBD.
Oh my God, gee, this, the order number 153, blah, blah. Anyways, it's pretty, pretty concise, I guess, in some respect, but it listed, it said, in addition to having to, more or less justify procedures and how we decontaminate what's going out in wet weather at President Avenue and Cove Street, right? Because that's all part of that consent order, right? We've got to
Yeah.
prove to them that what we're doing is holds water and whatever and so forth. And towards the end of it, though, I found it kind of ironic that they said, sort of like, and by the way, when you've done all that, I want to remind you, you've got all these projects that, you committed to saying you will do based on, certain plans and so forth that have been established in the past, and that we're basically going to hold you to the feet to the fire, to have them done by the year you said you're going to do them.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at them all and so forth and so on, and I think we're pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from what you showed me the other day, we talked about the other day, of the $120 million loan order that we got out, that was voted on by the citizens of Fall River, we've got committed and spent almost $100 million of it. And I think though, some of the items that was on that list, though, I don't think everything on that list would fall under that 120. I think there were some things there I didn't recognize as being on the list for the original loan on.
For the original loan order, so all the projects that that we're working on are on the original authorization. The ones that, so Hyacinth Street was added as part of the Crestbrook projects. Those were broke out into a separate contract. And those were drainage
Okay,
projects.
where is that? I just want to make reference to the list, if I can find it and everything.
So it should be right at the end of the, towards the end of the CDN.
Okay, hold on. All right, there's the schedule.
Okay, so we should,
Yeah,
Right there.
yeah, I noticed that.
no, I'm looking for the list that they said.
Oh. The actual consent order.
Oh, I think Grove Street.
Yeah. I got that separately.
All right, I thought there was one or two items that I didn't recognize. Okay.
So on page 4 of the consent order.
4?
Yeah, right there.
Oh, that's not it.
Here's the copy.
There it is.
Yeah, one side.
Yeah, there it is. So, which one was it?
So other,
The-
go ahead.
The main intercept and north cleaning inspection, but those are fairly small items, aren't they?
Yeah, they were,
Central Street lining, was that on the,
we haven't done that yet, that's still.
but was that on the 120 million?
Yeah.
It was, okay, I didn't recognize that.
Yeah, so some of the projects that we are doing that aren't on that list, the Mothers Brook Sewer
Right.
project, that is not part of that requirement. But that does benefit the system overall. It'll reduce I&I, which will end up reducing flow down to the plant.
We've already started spending on it already.
Yeah, exactly. We got a grant for that.
Yeah.
That's why we're moving forward with that right now. One of the other projects that wasn't required as part of the ACO that we're working on is the Route 79 project.
Thank you. Is this yours?
Oh, here's Walt's.
Okay,
So we are doing other projects that that are required to do. We couldn't let them run the whole time Route 79 from where they left off with the spaghetti ramps up to the Veterans Memorial Bridge
Right.
without dealing with all the drainage that needed to cross that corridor. Because then we would have just probably been digging it up in 10 years from now, which wouldn't have made any sense. So that's why we felt we had to go forward with some of those projects.
what's the land acquisition that we're anticipating doing on, what is it, the state pier?
Yeah, no, so right across the street, originally, in the integrated plan, there was 2 properties that were identified, a property at the corner of Turner Street in Duval, and then 609 Duval Street were both identified as properties to put in the City Pier Screen and Disinfection Facility. With the development of the Route 79 plan, we actually feel that it would be, myself and the engineers feel that it would be better to be across the street where they're taking down Route 79. There will be a parcel that'll be open, vacant, very good for the use that we'll need to be able to put our facility in the future. So we're working with DOT and the administration to make sure that that parcel is slated for.
So we never
use.
bought that piece.
We did not.
Okay, I remember we were like this close, it's like, we need it, we want it, and so forth. Liberty owned it,
Yep.
and we were gonna use it for some type of staging and stuff for what we had need for, so that's out of the picture then.
Yeah, we were talking with Liberty Utilities, the property they own, and to the south of that, the 609 Duval Street. We were talking with that property owner for a number of years now. And again, with the way that they ended up designing Route 79, actually across the street is almost a better spot for us to be. Gets us away from the railroad, big retaining wall on the railroad, as well as gives us more land to be able to put our facility.
Okay. This is, we at the point where we go into other, anybody have any other questions
No.
about this? If not, the next item is what, other business?
That's it?
All right, I just got one thing about that.
Mm-hmm.
I was taken by surprise about 3 months ago when, lo and behold, it shows up in my mail as a complete listing of what the commission owns down at the wastewater treatment plant with respect, I guess, assets. I was like, I've been on this board a long time, and never, ever saw something like that. In addition to that, there was also, I think, reports about maintenance projects that were going on down there and all that stuff. But I was surprised by just what's considered our property down there. Now, being from where I come from, and having worked in private industry, things of that magnitude were always looked at really close, because those were considered assets, and therefore it's considered money that's on the books and so forth and so on, and a great deal of effort was put into showing that any particular item that was on the list had a tag, had some type of identification, and which led to ledger pages and all that stuff. But I guess the thing that I think about, and having seen this, is if we were to let's say change contractors down there, right? We gotta be sure that if they're saying, if we say that's our stuff, that at a time in which we're entertaining or executing a change of contractor, that we've got to make sure everybody understands that's our stuff. That, the contractor, for whatever reason, for him leaving, isn't taken off and with a whole bunch of computers and stuff and so forth. And it just makes sense that someone, I guess I gotta say, it's gotta be the commissions or the city, the accountants or the auditors, whatever the case may be, has a handle as to what's really ours down there.
Property tags.
And I just bring that up only because it's pretty encompassing, what they say we got. I mean, think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
without a
So,
doubt.
I just bring that, I was amazed when I saw it. And like I said, it was the first time I'd ever seen it, something like that. I think Paul explained to me at one point that this is something that takes place either on an annual or semi-annual basis because I guess the city values it in terms of assets that has a bearing on the bottom line in which the city says has possession of. So, anyways, it's an important item. We should make sure we're keeping an eye on what we got down there. And, you know what I mean?
We're gonna be coming up on, possibly, coming up on either an extension of a contract or going out to RFQ for a contract, so that's something that we'll be talking about within the next,
Good.
probably 6 months, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all I gotta say. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add to it? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Oh,
You'll make the
Oh,
motion?
make a motion, sorry.
second, Okay.
What's that? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time.